This is lesson 2. It is based off of warning light notice for school buses. So these will be the amber flashing lights or the yellow flashing lights that are supposed to be engaged prior to the bus establishing stop. If you have not watched lesson 1, it's about 5 minutes. It covers perception, reaction, and braking distance. I'll go ahead and put a link below so you can quickly access that. This knowledge builds upon that knowledge. I went ahead and I made this chart, or actually I pulled this graphic off of figure 2.11, Maryland Commercial Driver's License Manual, and I went ahead and I added some things. So what I'm doing here is I'm comparing state laws or state requirements from where I can dig them up, and I'm trying to overlay them into this so you can see how there could be some issues with minimum requirements and total stop or your total stopping distances. Okay, let's zoom in here. All right, the perception reaction time, I went ahead and did that in the color teal here, and every speed limit I went ahead and showed just the perception reaction time, which, reminder, is the same for every vehicle, in teal over the first and the second box there. The Maryland warning light requirement, that is in blue. That'll be off of Maryland Law 22-228 subsection D. Pink, we have Connecticut. That's based off their law, SEC 14-277. New York is purple. I could not find it in the law book, but it is covered under 10.2.1 in the New York Commercial Driver's License Manual. Florida, your warning light requirement is in Statute 316.172 subsection 3. State Board of Education, BSBOC, gives the State Board of Education the authority to establish it in their school bus manual or basic course, the BSBOC. Virginian warning light requirement, that is going to be under VA Law 46.2-1090, and the Pennsylvania warning light requirement is under PA Title 75, Section 3345. Just a quick note here, and just so we're kind of warming up for our future lessons, I went ahead and I put a comparison here, and what we have is a school bus going in one direction and a car going in the approaching direction or the opposite direction as the bus. So it's coming onto the bus as fast as the bus is coming onto it, or close to, because the bus will be slowing down, car should be slowing down. Note that two vehicles approaching one another have less distal warning than two vehicles moving in the same direction. And that's because they're each closing the gap at a close to same speed. Or, like I like to say here, if the bus does the minimum amount they're required, the car will have less notification than what the minimum amount is required. Okay, I went ahead and put these flags here at 100 feet, 150 feet, 200 feet, and 300 feet. I tried to lay them over the charts here. Those are just kind of where the laws are kind of hitting on their minimums, and in a few cases their maximum. Okay. Maryland, the color blue, will just go straight down here. You're at 100 feet, which isn't a lot. You can see how it cuts, or you can see how these cut into your total stopping distance or perception reaction times at least. You're expected to also stop at 200 feet off the front of the or 20 feet off the front of the bumper. So I view that if the bus gives you the minimum amount of notice, that's almost like 80 feet. And Maryland has a stop and pop. Now, what's a stop and pop? That is where there is either a law written that you must immediately deploy your red light and stop arm while you're coming to a stop. Now, most CDLs, and we'll get to this in a future lesson, require that a school bus only deploy their red lights and stop arm when vehicles, like approaching vehicles and that, are at a safe distance. So that kind of puts the responsibility back onto the school bus driver, not to just haphazardly fling their arm out right when they establish stop, but to actually take a few seconds to look and observe the flows of traffic around them and where people are positioned. So Maryland has a law that actually requires them to engage red lights when they establish stop, and that is a violation. They don't even have to have the arm extended, just red lights flashing. Connecticut, you're at 100 feet and you're warning light or amber light notice, and you're expected to stop 10 feet off the bumper or rear of the bus. Pennsylvania, you are at 150 feet, but no more than 300 feet of amber light notice, and you are and approaching vehicles are supposed to stop 10 feet off your front or your bumper. Somebody removed they've altered your section 10 in your school bus driver, your commercial driver's license manual, and they went ahead and they rewrote the procedures in the Pennsylvania school bus driver's manual. However, the way they rewrote it is that they left out the part where the bus driver is to make sure vehicles are a safe distance, and that puts you in kind of a stop and pop area. Virginia, if it's under 35 miles an hour, 100 feet of warning light notice. And if it's over 35 miles an hour, 200 feet of warning light notice. Florida, you have within your BSBOC 200 feet of warning light notice. And also something was omitted, so it reflects as a stop and pop. And New York, I could not find it in your law, but I could find it in your CDL manual 10.2 section 10.2.1. And New York states that school buses must give 300 feet of warning light notice. Okay, that concludes lesson 2. And again, Pennsylvania's figure 2.11 reads differently than this one here. Go ahead and zoom out. Safe driving, everyone.